name is Jim Crown, and on behalf of the entire Board of Trustees of the Aspen Institute, I want to say thank you very much for being here tonight. This is always a wonderful evening, a wonderful dinner, and an annual celebration of a great organization. I'm going to start the list of thank yous by calling out the woman who is the driving force behind this evening and has been for years. Without you, Mercedes Bass, this evening would not be possible. You make it all happen. The room, the food, the decor, the guests, everything is spectacular, and we are so grateful. We had a terrific co-chair committee for this dinner. It included my family. I'd also like to thank Judy and Leonard Lauder, the John P. and Ann Welsh McNulty Foundation. Oh, no, let's go. The John P. and Ann Welsh McNulty Foundation, Diane Morris, the Tom and Margot Pritzker Family Foundation, Bob and Jillian Steele, and our good friends at Tishman Speyer. Thanks to all of them. We had a terrific vice chair committee headed by Jackie and Mike Bezos, Jane and Michael Eisner, Bloomberg Philanthropies, keep it going, Peggy Culver and Bill Mayer, Jenny and John Paulson, the Lori M. Tisch Illumination Fund, and Alice Walton. Thanks to all of you for your support for tonight. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, at the end you're going to be getting a great gift bag with some wonderful reading material in it, and that's thanks to Michelle Smith, who sponsored that. So Michelle, thank you very much. So the board is going to meet tomorrow, and we're going to review the business of the Institute, but while we'll go over that in detail, I can just give you tomorrow's board report in one sentence: we're doing just great. The Institute is really in as good a condition it has ever been, and we continue to play a central role in inspiring individuals to lead and enriching the lives of audiences across America, promoting values-based leadership, seeking to find common ground in our politically charged society, and expanding those values throughout the world. Now, this started with Walter Pepke, who set us on this trajectory. But tonight, we're going to honor another Walter, the exceptional leadership of Walter Isaacson. 7 decades later, he is the person who has led this to this extraordinary moment of eminence. Now, all of you are here tonight because in some way you support our work. You might be a member of the Society of Fellows, a fellow in the Global Leadership Network, a part of one of our important policy programs, or perhaps you attended a seminar or a Socrates gathering. Or you might be an underwriter or philanthropic funder. On behalf of the Institute and all my fellow trustees here in the room tonight, I want to thank you for your help as we serve as stewards of this great legacy. Now, tonight's program. Here's what we have in store. We're going to start out with remarks from one of my fellow trustees and certainly one of the most fun trustees to sit next to in a meeting ever, Madeleine Albright. And Secretary Albright will be coming on stage, to help us recognize the 10th year anniversary of the John P. McNulty Prize. She'll share with us the important contributions made by those who have been recognized by the McNulty Award, and then introduce a brief video that tells the story of the prize. Following Secretary Albright to the podium will be our good friend and fellow trustee, Ann Welsh McNulty, to recognize this year's prize winner. Now, if it weren't for Ann's personal dedication, foresight, generosity, and effort, the McNulty Prize would never have gained the universal respect that it has received. So, after Ann and the McNulty Prize winner, we will present the Henry Crown Leadership Award to none other than our own Walter Isaacson. And I had a hard time figuring out how to word, I really wish we were not giving Walter this award tonight. And I mean that. Not that he isn't incredibly deserving, but this only comes about because of the follow-through of a visit that started in February of this year when Walter came to see me in Chicago and described how he had a couple more personal chapters to write in his life, but they would involve stepping down as our president and CEO. So we respect your choice to move forward, Walter, and we're immensely grateful for all that you have done to make the Institute shine. And I think I'm speaking for everybody in this room when I say it's a rare treat to work with someone so passionate, so creative, so curious, so committed to the timeless ideas and values that you have led us to embody and share. So speaking on behalf of all of us tonight, Walter, I just want to say you have our utmost respect, our gratitude, and our sincere best wishes to you and Kathy both. So, incredibly fitting and closing loops, to present the award is a trio led off by the one person who really can speak to the ideals and life of Henry Crown better than anyone in the world, and that's my dad. And Lester Crown will be coming to the stage to share some reflections, joined by Bill Mayer, who's an Institute Chairman Emeritus and Chair of the Board of Overseers for the Henry Crown Leadership Program, and Francis Hoffman, who's trustee of the Henry and Gladys Crown Charitable Trust. They will do the honors of presenting tonight's award to Walter. With that, we'll break for dinner. You'll be allowed to enjoy your meal in each other's company, and then we'll bring to the stage the awardee for this year's Public Service Award, and that is Priscilla Chan. Priscilla has proven herself not only visionary, but as someone who's committed to seeing her investments make an impact in the communities and in the lives of those they reach. She's an extraordinary representative of what I think we need to think about as this new generation of philanthropists who are focused, dedicated, scientific, and incredibly effective in what they do for society. And following the presentation to Priscilla, she will be joined on stage in one of the wonderful things we do still have at the Institute, and that's Walter Isaacson as moderator and interviewer. So he and Priscilla will have a conversation, and that will close out our program. So with that, I want to repeat my thanks to having everyone here tonight, and I'd like to bring on stage Secretary Madeleine Albright.
Jim, thank you very, very much for your kind words. And let me just say that we all owe a great debt of gratitude to Jim Crown, the new chairman of the board, who has really taken over in an amazing way. So let's have a big hand for Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my honor to be involved with the Mcnulty Prize since it was first awarded in 2008. The prize represents a unique belief in the power of individuals who use their platform for good, and it reflects the belief that leadership means creating other leaders and making sure every person everywhere gets the opportunity to realize his or her own potential. It also reflects the shared values of the Aspen Institute and the Mcnulty family. And let me just say, there is nobody that is more dedicated to all of this than Anne. And so, Anne, thank you for your incredible dedication. I think what is important is that the values that they embody give pride of place to intellectual curiosity, moral integrity, community service, and a desire not only to be the best one can be, but also to bring out the best in others. Over the past 10 years, the ventures we have honored from the Aspen Global Leadership Network embody that mission in their own way. And I'm very personally moved by this year's Mcnulty Prize winner, the 10th annual recipient of this award. I've gotten to know Lana Abuhiel and I'm so inspired by the work that she is doing in some of the toughest places around the globe, instilling faith in democracy and empowering communities in a way that is very important to all of us, and especially to me. This generation has been handed a world full of opportunity, and yet with more risks than in any point in history. The youth local councils, which Lana founded, give us a global model and remind us that we can no longer afford to alienate new generations who feel they do not have a voice or that their lives are not relevant, because we especially need them. So I'm thrilled to be here to celebrate the 10th anniversary of this prize. And now let's watch a film looking back on the decade of the impact of the Mcnulty Prize.
We are all faced with a choice. Will we stay in our worlds perfectly content to look out from behind our fences, or will we show a conviction to act?
At a certain point, we hear a call, a calling to be part of something larger than ourselves.
We couldn't wait. We had to start something.
If we don't do this, we're not sure anyone else will.
These are people that are living their daily life, and they think, I need to figure out how to turn what I'm doing into something that will help others.
If we change the way we educate leaders in Africa, then we will profoundly change this continent. Before starting at Casilla, I was very busy at Microsoft. I had decided that returning to Ghana was the most important thing I could be doing.
I don't recall a day we didn't face challenges. Either you give up or you try to make something positive out of it.
I think a lot of what holds us back are delusions about our inabilities, and it's not reality. In reality, we are all more capable than we think we are.
What this prize has done is expand the idea of what's possible.
I was someone who really wanted to live a life that made a difference.
I wanted to invest in the future, to give our youth a chance.
When I first received the Mcnulty Prize, Casilla was operating out of rented buildings, and we were just planning a permanent campus. Today, Casilla is a very different place.
Class of 2017, congratulations.
The youth local councils moved from a pilot in 4 communities, and now they are in almost 45 communities in Palestine. With more than 26,000 youth going through that process, that's a movement.
The moral imperative is to really understand what we owe each other. Societies are better if we are enlarging our own views and seeing what we can do to help others.
We have seen a range of courageous leaders around the world who are taking their entrepreneurial talents and their resources to really try to address intractable problems.
The most important thing is that we don't give up. We all have a duty to make this world a better one.
Wow, it inspires even me when I look at that video and remember how many years, how many amazing people. Thank you, Secretary Albright. It has been our great privilege to have you as a champion for the Mcnulty Prize. You know, your insight, your experience, and your deep interest in all of these ventures has really been a gift to all of us. Now, I was thinking back to 2007 when my children and I, Johnny and Bryn are here, and Kevin may be en route. So when we first announced this prize at the Aspen Institute Gala in 2007, in the Rainbow Room, And many of you, I suspect, were actually at that gala as well. And that was the year that Secretary Albright interviewed Václav Havel. Then it seemed that we were all moving to an ever more democratic, open world. Much has changed. Madam, as you alluded to, the values that Havel represented are now under threat in many parts of the world. Now, all of our laureates are tireless advocates for a more just world. But in the end, we know that if we really want free and open societies to thrive in the long run, that cause will have to be taken up by the next generation. Which brings me also to this year's winner of the John P. McNulty Prize. As Madeline noted, Lana Abdulhideh is the founder of Youth Local Councils, a venture that is giving young people the chance to participate in local government and to execute real projects in their communities. So not only did Lana create this model for the West Bank, but she is now exporting it to other places like Honduras and Ukraine. Sorry. If we think about it, really, there is no country that wouldn't benefit from this approach. A surge of young people who feel disconnected is really one of the greatest threats a society can face. But a surge of young people who feel ownership is an incredible opportunity. And this is really what Youth Local Councils is all about. So please join me tonight in recognizing Lana and Youth Local Councils. I would also like to recognize all of our 2017 laureates, and incredibly tonight, we also have 7 out of the 10 Mcnulty Prize winners here from around the world to celebrate with us tonight. So can all of the laureates stand up? So as we all know, leadership is really what the Aspen Institute is all about. And there could have been no partner for us in the Mcnulty Prize, no better partner for us than Walter Isaacson, who has embraced and encouraged us in this mission right from the start. So thank you, Walter. Also, and a special and very deeply heartfelt thanks to Peter Reiling and the AGLN. Thanks also to our jury members, which include Brizio Biondi Mora, Alora Otuna, and Darren Walker, along with Secretary Albright. And I will give those with. And our trustees who have worked with us throughout this process, including Bob Steele, Margot Pritzker, Mike Klein, and Bill Mayer. Thank you. So thank you so much. Many of you have seen us year after year, and you know how meaningful this has been to our family, what a gratifying and rewarding process it has been for us. So thank you so much. We look forward to the next decade and more, continuing to celebrate these courageous leaders. Thank you so much.
Ann and family, thank you very much. So, I think all of us in life at different times have heroes. And sometimes your heroes are people that you have to follow from a distance, or maybe you're reading about them in a book that Walter probably wrote. But if you're lucky, you get to meet your heroes, you get to spend time with them. And I have had that blessing more than twice, but in these two instances, it was knowing my grandfather and the person I'm about to bring out, my dad. Two people whose values, humanity, skills, leadership, and humility have been inspirational and formative. So please welcome, to give Walter the Henry Crown Award, a trio led by Lester Crown.
You know, thank you. Thanks, one and all, and thanks, Jim. Who says that nepotism is dead? You know, ladies and gentlemen, I think most of us would agree that the major decisions in our life are really determined either by thoughtful planning or just by luck. Now, an example of thoughtful planning is when I chose my parents. Luck, on the other hand, was when Renee said yes, and the exquisite timing when Walter left CNN exactly at the moment when we were looking for a new president for the Institute. In the 14 years of his tenure, Walter has really beautifully fulfilled the visions of Aspen Institute's founder, as Jim said, Walter Pepke, who also is a Chicagoan. And he has taken it to new heights of excellence. Those of you who really know the Institute's history will remember that around 1990, the Institute was in very terrific financial trouble. They were within days, actually, of leaving Aspen, and it was very, very difficult to get anyone even to consider joining this board. And today, if someone is asked to join the board of the Aspen Institute, they would think that they've won the lottery. Walter's constant, and I really do mean constant, flow of ingenious ideas that keeps a superb staff energized 24 hours a day has made the Institute one of the, if not the, most admired organizations in the country. Under Walter's leadership, the Institute, as Jim said, is in great shape financially at this time, puts on absolutely spectacular programs such as the Ideas Festival, and makes meaningful contributions to the demanding intellectual and political problems that's confounding our world today. I think you'll all agree that it's very, very comforting to be part of an organization that constantly preaches ethics, morality, reasonableness, and decency. Walter has led that charge, really every day that he has been here. So I know when I speak for everyone in this room, plus many, many others who are not here, to say that it's been a thrill, it's been a privilege, and it's been an honor to have known and to have worked with Walter. And for our family, it's especially meaningful to have him receive the Henry Crown Leadership Award. My dad and Walter are really two of the finest human beings that I have ever known, and they deserve to be linked to each other. So Walter, I speak for so many others when I present you tonight with the Henry Crown Leadership Award for 2017.
I'm not sure that I'm Bill Mayer. Not sure that I want to make sure you know I'm not Lester Crown or Walter Isaacson. Following Lester is no easy feat. Actually, this all started 15 years ago at this dinner. I was the chair, and as Lester was saying, the Institute was not in the greatest in shape, and we were in a search for a new CEO. And somebody pulled me over and introduced me to Walter and his wife, Kathy. And after that, I said, well, that's a pretty interesting guy. And about a week later, I talked to Jerry Levin, who at the time was Walter's boss. He was the CEO of Time Warner and also on the Aspen Institute board. And then I got sort of a lukewarm okay, you can call him. And I called Walter in Atlanta, and it was a whirlwind courtship, which lasted less than 2 months. And on January 18th of 2003, we announced Walter would be the next CEO of the Institute. None of us, of course, could have predicted how it did turn out. And so we know that Walter did a great job. Lester went through that. But I always say to myself, but why is he different and who is he? So we know that he's very bright. Well, a lot of bright people in the room. We know he's very articulate. A lot of articulate people in the room. We know he's driven. Well, half of the room is driven. He's focused, and he definitely gets things done. But there is something else in my mind. Walter has a sight where he sees things differently than certainly I do, and I believe most of the people in this room do. He has a way of connecting disparate and different people and events in a most unusually creative way to form a narrative that we can all understand, something that we couldn't understand before. And I think of your Einstein book when you were talking about relativity, and I was just saying for about 10 seconds I thought I had it. But you had it to write. And so there's something about Walter and where is he? So he doesn't see around a corner, okay. And he talks about innovation. And he talks about the intersection of art and science. Frankly, I think he's comfortable talking about that because where Walter is. And at the far side of innovation, I believe there is disruption, and I think that is where Walter is at his best. So that's who I think Walter is, and I think that is why he is different. My last note is that a long time ago I sat next to someone who was well in his 80s, and he was a monk. And I asked him, did you guys ever retire? And he said, why would you ever stop doing what you like to do? And every once in a while in your life, you hear something, you say, I better write that down. So for Walter, what you really have to do is not stop doing what you like to do. Thank you.
Thank you very
much. Well, good evening. Funny thing happened to me on the way to the dinner. You're laughing already. Wait till you hear the punchline. Walter did not come up to me and ask me to cut my speech short. No. It finally sank in. Bill Mayer and Lester have waxed eloquently on the virtues of Walter. There's very little I could add. It would be foolish for me to try to outdo them. But therefore, I'll just tell you a little bit about the award itself. The Henry and Gladys Crown the Henry Crown Fellowship and the Henry Crown Leadership Award were created because of a stipulation in the will of Gladys Crown, which established the Henry and Gladys Crown Charitable Trust. Gladys stated, Henry Crown, the grantor's late husband, gave freely of his time, energy, and love to worthwhile causes for all the years of his adult life. However, his vast charitable good works do not adequately reflect the true spiritual depth and human character of Henry Crown. His firm belief was always that to achieve any goal, there could be no compromise with integrity, hard work, perseverance, infinite patience, and unflinching loyalty. His philosophy of giving was always that it must be of oneself. She further stated, Henry never sought public acclaim for the visible contributions he so generously made in all walks of life, and much recognition for his deeds has been designated to others in accordance to his own wishes. It is a grantor's fervent wish, therefore, that the trustee of the Charitable Trust Fund promptly proceed with the request that the undertaking described above be only in the name of the grantor's late husband, Henry Crown. The award honors those who reflect the character of Henry Crown, and there's nobody I know that more closely resembles that than Walter Isaacson. And Walter, it is indeed a privilege to present you with the 2017 Henry Crown Leadership Award. You are a unusual character.
Thank you so much, Francis.
And you can now hold it as your own.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Francis. Let me start by thanking the person who's been at my side for this entire journey and has been a co-pilot, or maybe I've been the co-pilot, Kathy Isaacson, my wife. Thanks, Kathy. I like to think I share a few things with Jim Crown, somebody I've always learned from. But one of the things I do know I share with Jim Crown is that Lester Crown is my hero as well. So thank you, Lester. Up there with my own father, who I wish could have been here today, a kindest person, the nicest person, and a person of deep values. Lester, you remind me of my father, which is one of the best things I can say about anybody. In fact, I wanted to say that it's been such an amazing honor to have been able to work with the Crown family and Lester Crown and try to absorb the values over the past 15 years that you represent. And it's also been an amazing honor to work with the Henry Crown program and all the Crown Fellows. I had breakfast with them this morning that have moved from being successful in what they do to being significant in tackling the problems of the world. It's also been an enormous honor to work with what's come out of that program, which is the entire Aspen Global Leaders Network. Around the world, having these fellowships of people who spend 2 years working together on projects and understanding how to deepen their values. And you saw with the Mcnulty Prize some of the best of the AGLN Global Leaders Network members, but that Aspen network has hundreds of people just like them. And to me, that's also been part of the honor of the past 15 years. But in particular, it's just been an honor to be part of this entire organization. We all talk about the things that matter to us, but at a certain point in life, you get to reflect on those deeply, and that's what the Aspen Institute allowed us to do. It allowed me to reflect on it deeply and to see ways we could as we try to do, turn thought into action with some of the programs and the projects that try to make sure others can be brought into the type of networks that we were all blessed to be part of. One of the themes that I've written about over the years is how innovation and creativity is really a collaborative endeavor. You end up working together with people. That's how innovation occurs. What the Aspen Institute has taught me is that values are a collaborative endeavor. You form your values with other people. You bounce ideas around with them, you bounce ideals around with them, and you get shaped by them. There's no better group than the people at the Aspen Institute and the people here in this room who support the Institute for me to feel I've been a collaborator in understanding the values we all share. Thank you all very much. Good evening, everybody. Sorry to interrupt your dinner. For those of you who don't remember, I'm Walter Isaacson, and I'm now officially in the category of forgotten but not gone. It's my great pleasure tonight to introduce and to interview somebody I not only admire deeply, but I've come to really like, a truly wonderful person, Priscilla Chan. She's, of course, the co-founder of the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative, and together they're trying to advance human potential and promote equal opportunity, both in science and in education and advocacy, bringing down the systemic barriers to opportunity, from housing to criminal justice to healthcare to education. So there can be, in my mind, nobody more fitting for our Public Service Award, because what they do and the values they embody are the ones that we aspire to. They do it in a very metric-driven way, pairing world-class engineers with experts in science, education, and public policy. They're bringing technology to philanthropy that's never been seen before in the hopes of accelerating the progress and discovery. I also had the opportunity to hear about the primary school, a school that Priscilla founded and is now the CEO of in East Palo Alto. And it does what our Ascend program, what Kathy has talked about a lot, which is not just do education, but do wraparound services for the entire neighborhood that serves children in East Palo Alto. She earned her BA in biology at Harvard and her MD at the University of California, San Francisco. She completed her pediatrics training at UCSF and then served as a practicing pediatrician at San Francisco General. But more importantly, she served in one of the clinics that makes sure that the underserved can get the medical care and all of the services that they deserve. Before pursuing medicine, she worked as an 8th grade science teacher, and throughout her college career was an after-school tutor in the housing project in Boston. She is the daughter of Chinese Vietnamese refugees, the first in her family to attend college. Her personal story is at the heart not only of what CZI does, but what America does, providing equal opportunity and a new chance for each generation. It's my pleasure to present the Public Service Award to Priscilla Chan. Priscilla? There you go. You don't have to take it with you. It's right here. You have to pose for a picture with it, and then we will. Great. I'll put it here. We'll. Have a seat. You have to, or.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Aspen Institute. Thank you, everyone here. This is an incredible honor. Mark and I are just at the beginning of our journey, And so I'll take this as a vote of confidence that you believe in us and you want us to achieve our mission and vision. But I want to share two important things that many of you have done to make it possible for me to be here today talking about this work. First of all, I am the American dream. Like Walter said, daughter of Chinese, Vietnamese refugees that left the country in a boat and came to this amazing country where they believed that anything was possible for those who worked for it. And if you froze my life that very first day that they dropped me off at Harvard, I would have lived the fullest version of the American dream that they could have imagined for me. And all of that is possible because of the work that you guys all do here for families like mine. So for that, thank you. And second of all, thank you for showing how inspirational and nimble philanthropy can be in changing the great public sector that we have in our country. You've shown that philanthropy can take risks, can experiment, can push the boundaries of what's possible. You've shown that every kid should be able to get the access to high-quality education that they deserve. You've invested in science that is beyond our wildest dreams of what we thought was possible. And you've fought hard for just systems that we all deserve in this country. So you are the foundation from which Mark and I get to build our work at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. We have taken that and we're standing on your shoulders and adding what is authentic to us. My work as an educator and pediatrician, Mark's work as an engineer and entrepreneur. And we're trying to layer on the viewpoints of a frontline practitioner and an engineer and building solutions that can scale to many and not just the lucky few. And so for that, thank you. Thank you for your vote of confidence. Thank you for continuing this journey with us. Thank you.
Tell me about the path you took. When you arrived at Harvard, I think you get involved with Phillips Brooks' house, and tell us what that did for you.
So showing up at Harvard was a pretty rough ride. And Phillips Brooks' house gave me the how and the why. When I got to campus, I had no idea what was going on. I didn't understand what I was supposed to do, and I was failing. I was a fish out of water. And I was ready to transfer. I got my application to, reapply to college again because I didn't belong there. But I also realized how lucky I was to get there in the first place, so I wanted to give back. And I went to the Phillips Brooks house, the service house at Harvard, and met an amazing group of people, the adults, my peers, who had very similar backgrounds to mine and had been able to be successful in these amazing leaders within public service. They showed me the how. They showed me how to get help, how to study, how to succeed in the classroom.
And they also worked with you so that you ended up in Dorchester, right?
Yeah.
Giving back already, even as an undergraduate.
Yeah, so I was able, through this amazing scholarship, to be able to apply my work study to service instead of working in the library or the cafeteria, because I needed to do that for my obligation at the school. And I was able to work in a public housing project in Dorchester, the next neighborhood over from where I had grown up. And those kids in that program taught me the why I needed to stay at Harvard and why I needed to persevere and build those skills as a leader. Because the kids that I was taking care of needed so much more than what I could provide as a teenager. We had kids who were victims of violence, who were unhealthy, who were unsafe, or not getting to school. And I had the opportunity to care for them, but also have them be the inspiration for my career of service thus far.
And how did you decide to become a pediatrician?
Well, there was this little girl at my after-school program who I had taken care of, and she was missing from school for a number of days. And someone from school came to the program and asked me to help her find her, and I said sure. And then I walked out into the playground of the housing project after program that day, and I found her immediately. And I asked her, "Where have you been? I was so upset with her. I'm worried about you." And she started talking, and I knew exactly why. She wasn't in program. The bottom of her 2 front teeth were broken and missing. And I had so many thoughts. Was she hurt? Was she sick? Did someone hurt her? And I had failed. And I couldn't shake myself of that feeling. And in that moment, being probably 21, I needed more skills. I needed to be able to help kids like her, because they're just like me, but I got lucky. So I decided to spend a decade to become a doctor. I'm very proud of that, love taking care of patients, but ultimately was hitting my head against the wall in the same way. I could diagnose things in the clinic, but there's no prescription for the problems that kids like this little girl I'm talking about face. You have to get into the community. You have to get into the lives of the people you're trying to serve outside of the ivory tower. And so after a decade of training to be a pediatrician, I left to found the primary school, where I hope to be able to better serve children like her and like myself.
Tell me about the primary school. It's in East Palo Alto, and it's not just a school.
No, so the primary school is a place where we're trying to redefine the way we care for kids, and that means 3 things for us. Empowering parents. Parents are the core of this, but they need the skills to be able to advocate for their child. We deliver a high-quality education, but we start early. We know that a ton of development happens when the child is an infant. And so we aim to enroll early in life. Our latest class was enrolled in infancy. And then we start full-day school when they're 3 years old. And the last part is really redefining the way we deliver health care. We want to redefine the way we deliver primary care, because right now, too much of it happens siloed in the clinic. And the doctor doesn't have the connections or the understanding of what's going on in a child's life to really address those problems. And so we partner as a school with the Federally Qualified Health Center to really be able to effectively care for kids together.
You just talked about very early childhood and the divergences that happen there. I know Jackie and Mike Bezos are here. You've worked with Ann Mosley of the Aspen Institute Ascend program. What can we do in the very early childhood to make sure everybody has the same chance or opportunity?
The way we're approaching that problem at the primary school is twofold. One is attachment. The idea that you have to nurture and love a child and for them to feel safely attached to an adult. And that's a lot of that is adult-facing. As much as we all love to cuddle babies, it's the parents and the adults that need the support in that time to address maternal depression, to help them overcome a lot of the trauma that's happening in their lives, to be able to adequately bond with their baby. And then the other piece is the language gap. We were just talking about the 30 million word gap that kids have by the age of 5 between the high socioeconomic families and the low socioeconomic families. That's huge, and that's before the very first day of kindergarten. And so there's a lot of programs that work in decreasing that word gap, and we do a combination. We do coaching and services to the parents before the kid is 3, and then we have a very rigorous school and with play, discovery, inquiry after the kid is 3.
You mentioned that when you were tutoring in Dorchester, the girl had dental problems. I think we probably don't think about that enough in rooms like this. At the primary school, have you seen things like that, like the dental problems being things that we haven't yet been able to solve?
Dental care is so incredibly important. We know that about 25% of all kids have chronic dental pain or dental problems that prevent them from being fully present in the classroom. And when you look at the educational outcomes, that's a little bit more than, they attain a little bit less than a full year's worth of educational achievement. And that's dental care, something that a lot of us take for granted. And so one thing that we're doing at the primary school is really making sure every one of our kids has access to good dental care. And our partner, a federally qualified health center called Ravenswood, comes on site and does what we call virtual dental clinic. They do the cleanings and checkups and education of the kids in the classroom. They don't have to miss school. They come on in. It's really straightforward, and we fill in the parents on what happened and how to follow up afterwards. That's our aim of how we can seamlessly deliver healthcare with the school as a strong partner.
CZI has become so big. Are you able to stay hands-on, like through the primary school?
You have to be. It's staying hands-on at the primary school is my inspiration of why I do this work. I wouldn't be able to do what I do at the philanthropy if I didn't have these families inspiring me and anchoring me and teaching me about what needs to be done to help kids and family.
It's been 2 years, right, since CZI was started. What have you learned? What mistakes are you rectifying?
We've grown a lot in the past 2 years. We launched in December of 2015. And we have learned that we need to actually work hard to bring different sectors together. Initially, we're working on education, science, and justice and opportunity. No one in their right mind would start essentially three foundations at the same time. That's crazy, you shouldn't do that. But we did because we thought they could be standalone, that a standalone organization could solve these hard problems of giving kids a personalized education, curing all disease. I know that one has other eyebrow-raising attributes, and giving every adult just opportunities in our country.
How do you see those as related?
We thought they weren't, but what we realized and learned is that the solution set comes from our willingness to advocate and actually speak out upon these issues and building tools together. And so we have a large engineering team, a little bit more than 100, so half of our organization are engineers, building great tools for the classroom, great tools for the scientists. And we realize we can't separate these. That the cross-cutting functions that are our tools of for-profit investment, nonprofit investment, building technology, advocacy, that's the tool set. That collision is what's important and what is our unique place in philanthropy. And so we've spent a lot of time pulling these different tools together into one organization.
Does it help that you're structured as an LLC, a limited liability corporation, rather than a philanthropy per se?
The LLC structure allows us to support great ideas and leaders no matter where they come from. And so we have the flexibility to support a great entrepreneur that's building a for-profit company. We have the flexibility to hire great teams and build tools in very unique partnerships going both ways with scientists and labs and schools. And we also have the flexibility to get involved in social issues that we care about. Because philanthropy is tiny, we need the ability to work across sector, to leverage our opportunity, because we're too tiny to sustain any one of these solution sets on our own, and it's not possible.
The primary school seems to be doing so many wraparound things, from nutrition to health to dental to teaching. Is that scalable, or is that only something that could be done like in East Palo Alto under your wing?
Our dream is that the primary school is not one special school that serves a bunch of really lucky kids. Our dream is that we are built in a sustainable way that we can leverage the public funding so that all kids have the opportunity to access this. And so that means being really diligent about how we comply with the way public and charter schools are run. All of our healthcare services right now are through the federally qualified health center that we partner with, and therefore is paid for through the public insurance system in California. So everything we do has the lens of how can we build this such that others can take it on and more kids can benefit.
I was particularly interested in your scientific work too, the Human Cell Atlas, which probably comes out of both your medical training but also your collaborative instincts. I mean, what's that about, and how do we get in biology the type of collaboration we have in other sciences?
So if you allow me, I'm going to get a little nerdy here.
This is a room full of
yes,
half-drunk nerds.
These are people. The Human Cell Atlas is a global project across many organizations that is aiming to build a reference atlas for all the human cells in different cell states. So one example could be the kidney cell in lupus. If someone has lupus, what's going on in the kidney cell that causes them to have kidney disease? I see this mutation, I see this protein overexpression, and the cells die at this rate. We know pieces of that information right now, but it's not openly available, and so fellow scientists can't build upon that knowledge. Medical providers can't use that to inform their medical practice, and people designing therapeutics can't easily access that to figure out how we develop treatments and cures for that illness. And what we're aiming to do is the Human Cell Atlas is a project to actually open science so that all of that knowledge that we're developing in labs gets shared, and we accelerate the rate of science in general and the way cures, accelerate the rate at which we're developing great medicines. We're funding a small piece of that, but we're very cognizant that this is a big project, and we need to do what's most authentic and best fitted to our skill set at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. So what we're most invested in is building the data coordination platform that houses all of that data that scientists are sharing and build a layer of high quality analytics so that scientists can easily look and understand different patterns and trends that they're looking at that they may not have seen otherwise.
You mentioned that you have 100 engineers, I think, which I did a bit of a double take. And now I understand they're doing things like a data sharing platform. But what else do your engineers do that relates to philanthropy?
Our engineers work alongside frontline practitioners to help them solve problems. That's the common theme. So we have engineers embedded in schools to help them build a tool that allows teachers to actually understand where their kids are at and personalize that education. I was talking to Jim about his daughter teaching elementary school and how hard it was for her to know where each of those 30 kids were at and be able to help each kid exactly where they're at. That's impossible. But that's what good teaching is. And what our tool aims to do is help the teacher understand where the different kids are in their learning progression so that she can personalize, to make groups and personalize to what each group and each kid needs. So that's one tool that we're building. We're in about 300 schools doing that. We're building the data coordination platform, but we also have a team of engineers embedded in science labs because there's a ton of creative, great work that happens in labs between one engineer and one really cutting-edge scientist. But that is always like duct tape and glue and piece together, and no one else can ever use that tool again because it only runs on one woman or one guy's laptop. What we aim to do with our embedded engineers is actually say, this is really cool. Do you think other scientists could use this? And actually build that in a way that is stable and can be shared for all scientists to use freely.
One of the themes, both of this whole evening and I hope of the Institute and then of your conversation, has been tools that help us collaborate and help us share. I mean, both in the biomedical research field or in the K through 12 education field, we have so much knowledge that isn't shared, that's not in a common database that people can't access. Do you see that as being sort of a thrust of CZI?
We would love for individuals to be able to do their work better. And working alone doesn't make you better. Working with others make you better. And there's a lot to overcome and be able to truly collaborate. But we're trying to make that easier on people. We're giving grants to incentivize a medical doctor who treats Alzheimer's, a immunologist who doesn't know anything about Alzheimer's but knows about the immune system, and an excellent neuroscientist. How do we bring those two people together? We're giving grants to do that. We're building tools to help decrease the barrier of actually sharing that information. And most of all, it's culture change. We're out there telling the story of why we think this is better alongside all the scientists and teachers championing.
And how are you doing that in education?
In terms of
collaborative sharing best practices?
So we have built a community around the schools that use the piece of technology that we're building, and those schools come together every year and share best practices, and actually have ongoing relationships with what we call a mentor in the program. So those individuals are working together, but we're also funding a lot of different organizations, one of which is called Chiefs for Change, where we're funding thought leaders in the field to work together and really thinking about how we can advance education together. So we give funding flexibly, and we fund people to come together and spend time talking.
You know what? It's been so inspiring because you've hit every theme that I think we've tried to do at the Aspen Institute. So I really want to thank you. I don't know if you have any closing words or some thoughts. Send us forward and forth.
Well, I'm not going to miss this opportunity to ask you, one of the greatest interviewers and leaders, a question.
Uh-oh.
It's not too hard. You have led this organization beautifully in the past 14 years. You have interviewed, studied, thought about, written about great leaders over the course of history. What advice do you have for Mark and I as we embark on our journey?
Oh, that would be very presumptuous of me to advise you either on philanthropy or on medicine. In fact, I mean, one of the things I've learned is that those of us who get the opportunity to interview or write books about people in the arena, we don't need to fall prey to the conceit that we're also in the arena and that we can tell you what to do. I do admire you so much, and I think we have to learn from you and also learn the basic values. I mean, that's what you keep a focus on, and perhaps that would be the one thing I would say, which is you had an astounding life. You came here as a refugee, and you had amazing opportunities. Everybody in this room has the same thing. They just should wake up every morning and say, it's been astounding how lucky I've been. And I guess we're all in the endeavor to make sure that that circle of people who have opportunities can continually be broadened. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.